We all hear those stories, right? About teachers working late, grading and making lesson plans,
Yeah,
even spending their own money on supplies for their classrooms.
it's true.
So many teachers putting in a ton of work outside of their contracted
And it
hours.
often goes unrecognized.
Right? And uncompensated.
It's a huge problem.
Which is why I think this proposal is so interesting.
Yeah,
We're looking at a proposal today for an app that would track and compensate teachers for that extra work.
it really could change things.
Imagine getting paid for all those late nights spent lesson planning.
Because this isn't just about tracking hours.
Right.
It's about changing how we think about the work teachers do.
I like that.
There's research that shows when employees feel valued, their motivation and job satisfaction goes way up.
Makes sense.
And in education, that means better learning for students.
So how would this app work? I see here that teachers would use the app to log their time for everything they do outside of their contracted hours.
That's right.
Grading, meetings, professional development, even buying supplies.
All of it.
Wow.
And to make it easy, the app integrates directly with existing payroll and frontline ERP systems.
Frontline ERP.
It's a system that a lot of schools already use
Okay.
for things like HR and payroll.
So it should be easy to implement then.
Exactly. And that integration means teachers get paid accurately and efficiently based on their tracked hours.
Got it.
Makes things a lot smoother for everyone.
So this all sounds great, but what are the big benefits? Why is this app being proposed in the first place?
Well, they argue that this app can address a few huge challenges in education.
Right.
Teacher burnout.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of teachers feel overworked and underappreciated, and this would help with that.
Makes sense.
They also say it could help with attracting and keeping talented teachers.
Interesting.
And of course, a happier workforce means better outcomes for everyone.
And this proposal even mentions that some teachers spend 2 to 3 weeks on lesson planning alone.
That's right.
Often using their own time and money.
Imagine if they got that time back or got paid for those extra hours.
It could really be a game changer for a lot of teachers.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds amazing, but there have to be some challenges too, right?
Of course, no system is perfect.
So what are some of the concerns?
Well, one big concern is teacher privacy.
Yeah, I can see that.
It could feel like Big Brother is watching,
Right.
But the proposal says they've considered that and built in strong privacy and security measures.
What kind of measures?
They would anonymize the data so it's not tied to individual teachers and would only be used for analysis.
Okay, so they've thought about the privacy piece.
Yeah, and they even compare the app to existing systems like T-Test.
T-tests.
It's a teacher evaluation system that a lot of schools use right now.
Oh, right.
And the proposal says this app would actually be better for data security than something like T-Tests.
That's interesting. Why would it be better?
Well, the comparison to T-Tests is interesting because it shows how the current system can actually hurt some teachers.
Hurt them? How so?
It can especially be a problem for special education teachers.
Really? Why would that be?
Well, T-Test focuses a lot on student growth averages to decide how effective a teacher is and how much they should get paid.
Okay.
But a lot of students in special ed have pretty big learning gaps.
Yeah.
So it's harder for those teachers to show the same level of growth as general education teachers.
So even though they're working just as hard, they might not get paid as much.
Exactly.
Wow, that's not fair.
Which is why this app is designed to be fairer.
How would it be fairer?
It focuses on the work teachers do,
Okay.
not just the student test scores.
Interesting.
It's about the time and effort they put in, no matter who their students are.
I like that. It seems more equitable,
The idea is to value the work itself, not just the outcomes.
which can be affected by things outside of a teacher's control.
Exactly.
So this could even help with things like teacher hiring and retention then.
It could by addressing burnout and making pay fair.
The proposal even specifically mentions potential increases in teacher hiring at Carmichael as a possible outcome.
That's right, because this app could help make teaching a more attractive and sustainable profession.
Okay, I can definitely see that. This all sounds pretty revolutionary, but it can't be all sunshine and roses, right?
Right, there are going to be some bumps in the road.
So what are some of the challenges the proposal talks about?
Well, there will probably be some pushback from teachers and administrators.
I can see that.
People are resistant to change, and some might not trust a new system right away,
Right.
and some might worry about the extra work involved in implementing a new system,
Yeah, change is hard.
and some might be worried about whether the data will be accurate.
That's a good point.
But the proposal talks about some solutions for that.
Okay, like what?
They want to build in ways to get feedback and keep making the system better.
So it's feedback loop.
Exactly. That way they can address problems and make sure it works for everyone.
And they'd provide training for teachers and administrators.
To help people get comfortable with the new system.
That makes sense, but I'm still a little worried about something.
What's that?
Could this actually end up making teachers work more?
Oh, you mean because they feel pressured to log more hours?
Yeah, like they have to prove they're working enough.
That's definitely something to watch out for.
I've definitely felt that pressure in other jobs.
The goal is to empower teachers, not to make them feel stressed.
Right.
It should be a tool they can use to show how much they do.
And to advocate for what they need.
Exactly, to get the resources and support they deserve.
So it's not about working more, it's about getting recognized for the work they already do.
That's the idea. It should be about fairness and transparency.
But how do you make sure that happens?
Well, it's important to be open and honest with teachers about how the app works
Okay.
and to really listen to their feedback.
So it's about changing the culture.
Exactly. Teachers should feel valued for the work they do, not just the hours they log.
But how do you measure the things that aren't so easy to track?
You mean like the passion and creativity teachers bring to the classroom?
Yeah, those things are so important, but how do you capture that in an app?
Well, that's where the feedback comes in.
Okay.
The app needs to keep evolving
Right.
based on what teachers say.
So it's a work in progress.
In a way, yes.
And it has to involve everyone, teachers, administrators, policymakers.
It's about working together to create a system that's fair and effective.
It's not just about technology.
Right. It's about changing how we think about education.
And how we value teachers.
Exactly.
You know, this deep dive has really made me think about how we value work in general.
Oh, interesting. How so?
We tend to focus on the things that are easy to measure.
Like hours worked or products sold.
But we forget about all the unseen effort.
The emotional labor, the behind-the-scenes stuff.
That's so important.
And it's often the work that makes the biggest difference.
This conversation about teachers is making me think about all the other professions where people are doing this kind of unseen work.
It's everywhere, right?
From nurses to social workers to freelance artists.
All these people are making essential contributions.
But they're often undervalued.
Because their work isn't always visible or easy to quantify.
I wonder if this app could be a model for other fields.
To help recognize and reward the unseen work that's happening everywhere.
It's a fascinating thought.
It makes you think about how we define and value work as a society.
This deep dive has been really thought-provoking.
It's challenged our assumptions.
And opened up some important questions.
About fairness and equity.
And about the future of work itself.
Technology is a powerful tool.
And we have to decide how we want to use it.
To perpetuate the status quo or to create a more just and equitable world.
So as we wrap up, I have one final question for our listeners.
Okay, what is it?
What unseen work do you value?
Good question.
How can you support those who are doing it?
That's something for everyone to think about.
And how can we create systems that recognize and reward all kinds of work?
Not just what's easy to measure.
It's been a great conversation.
It's definitely given us a lot to think about.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
And thank you for having me.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
It really makes you think.
This whole idea of an app for teachers.
Yeah.
But the concept itself could be used for so many other jobs, too.
Absolutely.
Think about all the people who do work that's hard to measure.
Mm-hmm.
Like nurses who work overtime.
Right.
Or social workers who deal with really tough emotional situations.
Or even artists who spend hours on things that don't show up on an invoice.
All those people are doing essential work.
But they're often not recognized for it.
And they're definitely not always compensated fairly.
This app, or at least the idea behind it,
Yeah.
could be a starting point for changing
For
them.
valuing all kinds of work, not just the work that's easy to track.
It's about seeing the contributions that are often hidden.
This deep dive has really got me thinking about that.
Me too.
We've talked a lot about teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a much bigger issue.
It really is.
How do we value all work?
How do we make sure everyone is treated fairly?
These are big questions.
And there are no easy answers.
But technology can be part of the solution.
If we use it the right way.
So as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay?
What kind of unseen work do you value?
Hmm.
And what can you do to support the people who are doing that work?
Those are important questions.
And how can we all work together to create systems that are fair and just for everyone?
It's a challenge, but it's one worth taking on.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been great talking about this with you.
And until next time, keep diving deep.